It was too generous, too good to be true. Emma wanted to find the trap, the hidden clause that would destroy her. But standing there in the morning sun, with the ranch her grandfather had built crumbling around her and nowhere else to turn, she didn't have much choice.
When do uno start?
Today, if you're willing.
Pack what you need.
I'll have movers come for the rest.
Today. Emma laughed, a short, sharp sound. You don't waste time, do you?
I've learned that time is the one thing you can never get back. Marcus pulled out his phone, already texting someone. My ranch is 2 hours north. We can stop for lunch on the way, let you process all this. 3 hours later, Emma found herself sitting across from Marcus Blackwood in a small diner off the highway, an untouched burger in front of her. The initial shock had worn off, replaced by a numb kind of resignation. She was leaving the only home she'd ever known to work for a man she'd met that morning, a man her father had owed a fortune. Tell me about your father, Marcus said suddenly. How did he end up in so much debt? Emma picked at her fries. Medical bills, mostly. My mother got sick 5 years ago. Cancer. He spent everything trying to save her, and when she died, he couldn't stop. Couldn't stop spending, couldn't stop trying, as if money could bring her back somehow. Then the drought hit, and the cattle market dropped, and... She shrugged.
You know the rest.
Ido. Marcus was quiet for a moment. My mother died when I was 12. My father drank himself to death 2 years later. I understand what grief can do to a person. Emma looked up, meeting his eyes. Is that why you're doing this? Pity. No. He leaned forward, his voice intense. I'm doing this because I believe in giving people a second chance. Someone did that for me once, and it changed my life. Maybe I can do the same for you. The Blackwood Ranch was nothing like Emma's struggling homestead. The main house was a sprawling modern structure of wood and glass, surrounded by pristine white fences and enormous barns. She counted at least 200 head of cattle in the nearest pasture, and the stables looked bigger than her entire house. This is where I live, Marcus said, pulling up to the main house. But your cottage is over there. He pointed to a small, charming building nestled near a grove of oak trees. It's private, fully furnished. You'll take your meals at the main house with me and my staff, unless you prefer otherwise. Emma just nodded, overwhelmed. Over the following weeks, she settled into a routine. She woke before dawn, worked with the cattle and horses, managed the ranch hands who were surprisingly respectful once they realized she knew what she was doing. Marcus was often there beside her, and she learned that despite his wealth, he wasn't afraid of hard work. He mended fences, delivered calves, and rode the property line checking for breaks and problems. They fell into an easy partnership, and Emma began to see past the intimidating exterior. Marcus was funny in a dry, unexpected way. He was patient with the animals and fair with his workers. He pushed her to learn new things, teaching her about breeding programs and sustainable ranching practices that her father had never known about. One evening, 6 weeks after she'd arrived, they sat on the porch of the main house watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Marcus handed her a beer, and they drank in comfortable silence. You're good at this, he said finally. Better than I expected. Thanks, I think. Emma smiled slightly. You're not what I expected either. What did you expect?
Someone cruel, I guess.
Someone who'd work me into the ground and enjoy it. A rich man who wanted to humiliate the poor girl who couldn't pay her debts. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When I came to collect that day, I expected to find someone broken, desperate. Someone I'd have to save. He turned to look at her, and there was something new in his eyes, something that made her heart beat faster. But you were standing there like a warrior, ready to defend your home with nothing but pride and anger. I knew right then that I didn't want to take anything from you. I wanted to give you the chance to fight. Is that all you wanted? Emma heard herself ask, surprised by her own boldness. Marcus set down his beer and stood, walking to the porch railing. No, he said quietly. But the other things I wanted weren't part of our deal. Emma stood too, moving beside him. Over the past weeks, she'd felt something growing between them, something she'd tried to ignore because it seemed impossible, inappropriate. He was her employer, her father's creditor, the man who held her future in his hands. But he was also the man who'd shown her kindness when he could have shown cruelty. The man who worked beside her rather than above her. The man who'd taught her to believe in herself again. "What if I want to renegotiate?" she whispered. Marcus turned to her, his hand coming up to cup her face. "Emma! Come with me," she said, taking his hand. Not as a demand, but as an invitation, an offer freely given. When Marcus Blackwood had driven to her ranch that morning weeks ago, he'd come to collect a debt. But standing there in the fading light, Emma realized he'd taken something far more valuable than money. He'd taken her hand, her trust, and somewhere along the way, without either of them planning it, her heart. And as he pulled her close and kissed her softly, she knew that this was one debt she'd be happy to spend a lifetime repaying.